The blood had dried brown on my hands. Not mine. Not yet. I was 17, and I'd learned to tell whose blood was whose by smell alone. Copper sweet from a live wound, flat and old from a corpse 3 days gone. I was crouched in a drainage gap under Sector 7, waiting for the Enforcer's lamp beams to pass. Counting my own heartbeat because counting was the only sound I trusted. They found me anyway. Everyone gets found, eventually. That's the first lesson of the depths. Hiding only buys you time, never safety. 2 years later, I don't hide anymore. I'm Private Vex Corrin, 4th Necromundan Levy, and I've learned that a lasgun makes a different kind of quiet than a knife does. The barracks at Hive Sibelius, staging ground smell of oil and boot black, which is almost pleasant compared to what I grew up breathing. I move through the rows of bunks the way I moved through collapsed tunnels, close to the shadows, counting exits, back never fully to a door. The other conscripts notice. They always notice. A boy from the mid-hive levels once asked me why I flinched at doors slamming and never at gunfire. I didn't have an answer that wouldn't scare him. Sergeant Ilsa Vantor caught me hoarding ration bars under my bunk plate 3 weeks into training. She didn't write me up. She crouched down, looked at the little hoard like it was a wound and said, "You won't starve here, that's over." I didn't believe her. I still don't some days, but I wanted to, and wanting to was new. Vantor's from a Hive too. Upper reaches, Forge District stock, never missed a meal in her life. She checks ration counts obsessively, a habit from a childhood where counting was a game, not survival. She doesn't understand the depths, but she watches me the way you watch something valuable and dangerous at once, and she never once called me disposable. The Vox crackles through the mess hall on a grey morning. Conscripts of Necromundan origin designate for line deployment. Convoy departs at 0600. Objective, Hive Primus Lower Strata, Sector 7 and adjoining works. Sector 7, my sector, my gap, my rats and my ghosts. Cale Dre, mid-hive born, my age, too curious for his own good, leans over. That's rough. Going home like this. It's not home, I say. It's just where I used to die slower. He laughs like it's a joke. Vantor, cleaning her weapon 2 bunks down, doesn't laugh at all. The transport doors open on air I recognize before I see anything. Rot underneath, ozone threading through it. The cold, wet breath of tunnels that haven't seen real light in decades. My stomach folds in on itself. My hands, steady on the march down, start to shake once I hear the drip of contaminated water hitting stone. That sound used to mean shelter. Now it just means home, and home was never safe. Cale notices. You know this place. Everyone from here knows this place, I say, which isn't an answer, and he's smart enough to let it go. We move into the tunnels in formation, boots too loud for ground that taught me to walk in silence. Old gang markers score the walls, a crossed pipe, a red hand, symbols I read like a second language. Vantor's voice comes low over the Vox. Contact possible, 200 meters. Stay sharp. Then the dark opens up and starts shooting back. Lasfire cracks white against wet stone. Something screams that isn't quite human and isn't quite not. A chant underneath the gunfire, wrong syllables that itch at the back of my skull like a word I almost remember. I freeze for 1 full second because I know that cadence. I heard it as a child, whispered by people who disappeared into the deep tunnels and came back changed. Then training, real training, hard-earned training, takes over. Contact left, upper vent shaft. They're above us. I'm shouting it before I've consciously seen anything, just felt the wrongness of the air moving from the wrong direction. Vantor doesn't ask how I know, there's no time. The squad pivots, fire converges, bodies drop from the dark like the tunnel is vomiting them out. A cultist rushes me at close range. Too close for Lasfire, blade range, Underhive range. My knife goes in on instinct before my mind catches up to my hands. The cultist's hood falls back as they fall. It's Sten. A boy I ran with when we were both 9 years old, before his family got swallowed into the deep cult territories and mine didn't. I keep moving, I keep firing, something in my chest doesn't. We win the corridor, but it costs us. Vantor's rifle jams at the worst possible second, and I'm the one who pulls her back and drops the thing coming for her throat without thinking about it twice. For one breath, standing over her, I feel almost whole, useful, trusted, alive on purpose instead of by accident. Then the Vox opens, and a captain's voice flattens everything. Confirmed cult infestation across entire Sector 7 civilian strata, revising casualty and containment protocols. All conscripts of local origin are reclassified as potential exposure vectors, effective immediately. The fighting keeps going around me, but I've stopped hearing most of it. Exposure vectors. I look at Vantor. Her eyes haven't gone cold, not exactly, but they've gone careful, and careful is its own kind of wound. We count the dead after. 3 gone. Cale Dre is one of them, cut down by something his mid-hive training never prepared him to face. He died confused, still asking questions, and there was no time to answer the last one. An officer finds me afterward, alone at the edge of the light. He has my file open on a data slate. Vex Corrin, Sector 7 origin. The cult's been active in your home strata for at least 6 months. He watches my face like it's evidence. You recognize that ganger back there. You called the shaft position before you could have seen it. How do we know you weren't already one of them? I don't have an answer that will satisfy him. I'm not sure I have an answer that satisfies me. My hands won't stop shaking later in the dark, away from anyone who might report it. I don't cry. The depths trained that out of me a long time ago. But something in me goes hollow and stays that way. Everything that kept me alive down here now makes me look like the enemy up there. Down below, at least the danger was honest. It never pretended to trust you first. I sit in the ruin of a collapsed processing chamber, lightless, trusting eyes that never really adjusted to anything brighter. I hear Vantor's boots before I see her. She hasn't learned to walk quiet, and some part of me is glad of that. She sits without asking, "You think you're infected?" I don't know. The cult was growing down here while I was up there playing soldier. Maybe I was always going to be useful to them one way or another. And you still came back. You still fought. You pulled me out of the way of something that would have opened my throat. Didn't have a choice. You always have a choice, she says. You chose that one. That's the part that matters. The old numbness settles over me anyway, familiar as a coat I never wanted but always kept nearby. It's easier than feeling the rest of it. Down here, the threat was outside you. Up here, it can be the people beside you deciding what you are before you get to say it yourself. But somewhere in the numbness, something else takes shape. I spent most of my life learning how to survive the depths, I tell her. Finally get out. Turns out we're all still in them. Just a different level of the same hive. You know how to survive that level, though, Vantor says. So will the next kid they pull out of Sector 7, and the one after that. Then teach them. 3 weeks later, new conscripts come through processing, thin, flinching, checking exits without knowing they're doing it. One of them, a girl no older than I was, moves like she's still bracing for a blow that already landed. Vantor puts me in front of the intake line without saying why. I understand anyway. You're from the depths, I say to her. Not a question. She nods, wary, waiting to be told what that makes her. I was too, I say, and I'm still standing. So will you. Difference is, this time you don't do it alone. I show her how to read a room the way I once read a tunnel. Exits, shadows, the weight of silence, old instincts, new framework. Vantor watches from a distance and doesn't interrupt. The depths are still calling. They probably always will. But for the first time, I'm the one who calls back. And this time, I'm not calling alone.